Middlecoff took off his golf hat. That's disappointing. But maybe
Bald
it's
is beautiful.
yeah, bald is beautiful. Maybe it's in protest because next week was supposed to be the Masters.
Oh my gosh, that's a depressing thought, isn't it?
Makes me
Yeah.
cry.
How you holding up?
I'm doing fine. I've got 3 kids. I've got one on the way next week, actually, and so we're busy. We're homeschooling and we're trying to get out of the house as much as we can, and just literally just into our pool and to walking around and just trying to keep the kids entertained. But it's honestly for us, it's actually a nice break in a way, just from having to wake up every day, get them to school, and we're kind of always running around. And now we're just kind of waking up and we get breakfast. It's just it kind of slows. It's a slower pace for us, and we're enjoying the time together.
I actually think I read Tom Brady said something the other day, like, for as crappy and shitty as this thing is, maybe it's kind of making us all take a deep breath and slow down a little bit, because you realize, like, I'm running to do nothing. That society had gotten a little out of control, and I'm as guilty as anyone, that you just kind of realize you don't need to rush for everything you're doing.
I totally agree. I think it's just kind of taking a deep breath for me and just kind of looking around at what I have and what are the things that I need to do today. And luckily I've got a little gym in my garage, so I get to go work out there. But we spend so much quality time with each other and our kids and my wife, and actually talking about things and literally just looking our kids in the eyes and interacting with them on a really deeper level than you do normally during the week. You're just so busy. I mean, our kids are only like 6 and 5 and 3, but
yeah,
my gosh, their schedules are crazy for little kids and what we're all doing.
You playing any golf now?
I was doing, like, last week. It's been so kind of crazy with the government and the governors and all the judges and the mayors and everything here, trying to figure out when you can go out and when you can't. So I was going out and just doing a little bit of work and a little bit of practice, which was kind of nice. But right now we're in the last kind of 9-10 days of Candy's pregnancy, so I'm just kind of staying home. We're taking care of that and preparing ourselves for the baby.
So do you think this means that when golf starts back up, everyone will come back with their swing super sharp because all they've been doing is practicing in their garage, or is everybody's swing going to be a mess?
Though they're going to be a little bit of a mess, I think, because you just haven't played much in competition, and sitting around just swinging is good. But it doesn't get you ready for the impact and the stress of playing golf and the strategy and this and that. It takes time to kind of play a bunch of holes, kind of compete and kind of get your brain kind of fired up into kind of the new reality that you have of competing and hitting shots under pressure.
I think, nowadays we learn about these guys, and the PGA Tour is so big, and we hear about these young guys coming up. Like we talk about we talk a lot about football and football recruits, and we hear about Julio Jones since he was in high school. Beside Tiger for a long period of time, we didn't really talk about it, but you were a guy coming out of high school and then at Oklahoma State who was just a bit like you would have been a top draft pick if
Right.
Golf was football. When in your teens did you realize I'm pretty freaking good at golf?
Gosh, I mean, it took me a while to get, probably my junior year of high school, to where I really felt like I was really good and I could really compete at a really, really high level. I still didn't even know if PGA Tour golf was in my future. I still wanted to go to college and experience that. Got to go to Oklahoma State after a year at SC, and I think I enjoy the daily grind of it, because any professional athlete knows it's not tournament time. It's every single day that you're working that you sort of have to love and you sort of have to enjoy. And I really enjoyed doing that. Got on tour quickly, started playing a lot of tour events, and it was a big jump from college to professional golf. But I did feel like when I was out there, there was a moment right before I won that I was on the range, and I said, I almost told myself, like, this is my time. I am ready to do this. And that was, the Sunday morning of the Travelers Championship, and that's when I went off to win. But until I won, I didn't feel, I knew I was there, but I didn't feel a part of it until I actually won on tour.
Middlecoff and I were talking today about Alabama and Saban, and how the last couple of years Saban has I mean, this is a guy who's won multiple championships.
Yeah.
But he hasn't really had first-round quarterbacks. He hasn't had a plethora of first-round receivers like in the same year, like this year he's going to have. And how it's become even bigger than it was before. I mean, it really is kind of Oklahoma State golf. Or would you say it's Alabama football just in terms of churning out? I mean, we've seen Wolf hit the scene, Hovland hit the scene.
Yeah.
You and Ricky Barnes were playing each other in the U.S. Amateur in 2002.
Yeah.
Ricky
I would
Fowler.
say,
I mean, you beat Ricky for your second win.
yeah, that's true. I think it's funny because we've had the same. We're on our fourth coach in the last 60 plus years of college golf at Oklahoma State. Only 4 coaches.
You guys are like the Steelers of college golf.
Exactly. I was just going to say that. I mean, and they're all 3 of them are former players. And so it's just kind of it's a culture thing there that basically Coach Holder, who I would say is a Nick Saban type, very tough. It's you know, I'm sure I don't know, but you come to Oklahoma State to win tournaments, to win Big 12 championships, and to win national championships. That's what you do when you go there. If you're there to have a good time, if you're there to enjoy the college experience, it's probably not going to be the place for you. And so that's when I went there, I felt it immediately. And there's a pressure to that, but there's a standard that is set, that he's set for a long, long time. And there's been the amount of All-Americans that they've had there. And if you go do the clubhouse there at Carson Creek, you'll just see all the placards everywhere and all the tournament trophies everywhere. And it's a big deal. It's when I went there was a little bit of a lull after Charles Howe left, where they didn't get a ton of great recruits and it was struggling a little bit. And then I got there and we finished second in nationals. And then it's been Ricky started to come, and there's been Jonathan Moore and Alex Noran, and then all of a sudden Matt Wolf and all these kids started coming there because Oklahoma State sort of was cool again. And you went there for a specific reason, you know, and that's to go play there, win national championships, and go on the PGA Tour. And that's sort of what Alabama has done, right? They just like, hey, you come here for a reason, not because you want to have a good experience.
Would you say the Ben Hogan, that's the best player in college?
The Nicholas Award, the Hogan Award, and they've kind of created some more awards. But the Hogan Award is a great award. It's really neat. Yeah.
So you won the Hogan Award, correct?
I did. Yeah.
Would you say that's like the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy of golf?
I'd say it's pretty close. Yeah. There's a few awards. I mean, it's pretty neat because I've got a Nicholas Trophy and I got a Hogan Trophy. I mean,
so you win these awards in that last. I guess it would have been your second year at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
The process of agents coming to you, was it pretty clear? Like, I'm probably going to turn professional. Like, as a 21-year-old, that's got to be kind of an intimidating time in your life, even though you know you're really good at something.
Oh, for sure. It's all you see is a bunch of decisions that you have to make that you don't really feel sort of qualified to make. Or I know I didn't. I knew I was going to finished second at the USAM, and then was going to the Masters that year, and played well at the Masters, and you could. You know, even though I didn't know if I was turning pro, it was like everyone around me knew I was turning pro. And, you know, like you said, agents were coming around and people were coming around. So it was quite a process, but I felt like the timing for me was just kind of perfect. I used Ping clubs for a long time, and Ping was coming after me really hard, and they missed out on Charles Howe at the time, sort of, which gave me some leverage because, hey, they're like, we need to get this guy because he's the next young player and we need a young player on staff. And so that was a big reason I turned pro. And I just felt like I was ready. I felt like I didn't know if I could learn any more from being in school for another 6 months. I needed, as Mark O'Meara said when I talked to him, he's like, you need some on-the-job training. At this point, you just need to kind of leap and go play and figure it out from there.
What was the Masters like that first time?
Oh, my gosh. It's literally breathtaking. You can't even describe how beautiful it is, how scenic it is. I got to go there. So once you get your invitation to the tournament, you can go there as much as you want prior to the event. So my dad and I went down there, like in the fall. I think it was like Thanksgiving time, and wanted to see the course a few times. And it's when there's no one there. I mean, it's like you can hear a pin drop. It's this cathedral of just perfectly manicured grass. The elevation changes would, I don't know if you guys have been there, but the elevation changes would blow your mind. How the clubhouse sits on top, and 12 is the lowest part of the golf course, and it's very low. Like you could almost see all the way down 18, all the way down 11. It's just majestic. It's beautiful. You got it. It's once in a lifetime opportunity to go there and to just see it is amazing. And I was playing there as a 21-year-old kid. It was a ton of fun. I got to play with Jack Nicklaus Thursday, Friday, and actually ended up just being on Friday and Saturday because Thursday was rained out. But to play with Nicklaus there and to be there with him and play for 2 days was really, really amazing.
Do you even remember that? Was it kind of a blur? Because obviously you went on to play it a bunch of times and played well in it, but that time.
I totally remember he shot like 83 or 84 the first round, and he came back, and I I saw an intensity in his eyes because he was like embarrassed. You could tell he just was like, yeah, I think he shot 72 or 73 the next round. Wow. And he's like well into his 60s, and he just grinded his butt off. I mean, you could tell that like he had nothing to prove, but for himself, it was just a competition of himself to go out there and play the best he could. And we got to talk about the course. I remember he talked about every year they take all the grass off the greens and they kind of put new grass on. And he's like, every year it changes just a little bit, and this is a guy who's been there since the inception. And he's like, we were just talking about certain greens, slopes, and how that they change every kind of year, and how, it's very subtle, but someone who sees it all the time can see the differences.
What is that the height? Like if we tried to rank the biggest buzz events, right? The Ryder Cup, I would imagine, would be very high.
Yeah.
Masters with Tiger in the mix. I mean, the Masters that Phil won in 10, Tiger was in the mix coming into Sunday. You played really well that Saturday.
Yeah.
Both were top 10. Is that Tiger Masters? Is that the height of buzz?
It isn't. Yes, because it's weird there because the crowds are always going to be there every single year.
Aren't they on their best? Aren't they on their best behavior there? Also,
that's what I'm saying. It's sort of weird when he is in the hunt because everyone's there, and you want to see something great, and you're going to see incredible things because the finish is so amazing, and it's such a great setup. But any tournament with Tiger in the hunt is just different. I mean, it feels different when you're there as a player playing, and Augusta. Every year, it's just like you said. The people are so respectful, and there's not. I mean, they don't put up with anything there. I mean, and they're everywhere too. I mean, all the members and the security, they're everywhere. They hear everything. So everyone that goes into that event with a certain amount of respect, and all the players love it. I always love going there because if you go to the U.S. Open, you go to the range. It's 12 deep of just agents and media, there's workout guys. There's translators. There's just a ton of people on the range. You can't get anything done. At Augusta, you're allowed to have your caddy, obviously, and then you can have one person sitting next to you on the short game, the putting, or the range. So it's very, very clear and very, very cut and dry about what you can and can't do. But there's sort of a relaxing feel about it because there's just not 1,000 people all over you. You get to go there and you can get a lot of work done just kind of by yourself and your caddy trying to figure out the golf course.
You turned pro in 2003?
Yeah.
I mean, would you say that? I mean, Tiger had already won a lot. Tiger was probably one of the more famous humans in the world at that point, right?
No question.
First time you met him, do you remember? And the first time, obviously, I'm sure you played with him. What was that like?
Yeah, it was at the U.S. Open on every amateur at the time. We all knew Tiger played early on kind of Tuesday, Wednesday, and maybe Monday afternoon. But Tuesday, Wednesday, he was going to be out there first light. And so it was like me and like another amateur were out there on the range. And we were at the range like at 6 o'clock hitting balls. Or as even like 6:30. And we were just kind of waiting. We heard he was going to tee off like at 7. And then all of a sudden it's just, you get word of mouth. He's on the tee. So you just pack up and run. So you just go to the tee because he's not waiting around for anybody. He doesn't care. And I think that day might have been Darren Clark. I think was probably playing with him. He played a lot with Darren Clark at that time and Mark O'Meara at that time. And you just go to the tee. And I remember he was walking there, hadn't gotten there yet, and got a ball from Stevie, set it down, a couple driver swings, and kind of hit kind of snapped hook one in the first one, got another ball, put it down. And then from there, it was just perfection for the next 4 hours of just this brilliance and just being around this guy and talking with him a little bit. But that was a blur. That whole day was a blur. But I just remember going there and seeing him. Then being on these Ryder Cup teams with him and playing in tournaments with him and then getting to know him more. We had the same swing teacher for a while with Sean Foley. So those are the things. Like I grew up with Justin Leonard, and then I was playing with Justin Leonard on the Ryder Cup team. So there's those little memories and those little connections through my golfing experience have been unbelievable.
Did he know who you were when you ran up to the tee?
No. He believe me, it was at that time of Tiger from like 96, like the only thing he did was play golf and work out. I mean, that was it. I mean, he was there to just absolutely destroy you. For about 5 years, it was just I am going to break you. He stepped on the tee is like thinking of like, I'm going to destroy you. Every person here, you're going to know, you are not better than me.
John and I were talking earlier about, before we started talking about a story that you told about the President's Cup, which was actually at Harding Park here in the Bay Area where the PGA Championship was supposed to be in 2009, and Michael Jordan was there.
Yeah.
And was yelling at you at one point, instruction. Like, is there it's probably Michael maybe a little more laid back than Tiger was in competition, but are there similarities? Like, did you feel or see similarities between those two guys?
Yeah. So Freddie called me and Sean O'Hara up beforehand and said, come on down early. We'll play Sunday with Michael. And so we got there Saturday and got there Sunday, and we played with Michael. And obviously, I'm a Jordan guy in every sense of the word. And so that was unbelievable to be in his presence and play golf with him. The thing that just blows your mind is how competitive he is. He's just the most competitive human being I've ever met. And I think Tiger is a lot of that way. And that's what kind of brought Tiger back over and over again after all these surgeries and injuries. He's just a competitive guy. He can't go home and just practice and just play and leave when he feels like I've got something left in the tank and something left to prove. He's, on a mission. So there's that competitive nature between those guys. And I think their constant, work on their bodies, getting their bodies in the best shape they can, and continuing working that. But, the competitive nature those two guys have, day in and day out, no matter what they're doing, you can see it pretty easily.
We've all heard the stories about Tiger, the machine, like you said, worked out, played golf, was just there to dominate. But as you get to know him, and he does know people on the tour, even in that stage, when you're competing, like if you're playing with him on a Saturday and you're tied for the lead, or just you guys are in the mid, is he just not talking to anybody? Obviously, he's different now, but back at peak Tiger.
So there's been multiple Tigers kind of throughout the time. That early onset was, I'm on a mission to win more majors than Jack. That is the only thing. And his work ethic, like there's that, 2000, like 96 to like 2005 or 6 or whatever that year span. Nobody worked as hard as he did, and nobody will ever duplicate what he did because no one was going to put in that much time and that much effort. It's just never going to get done again. The workout sessions, the practice sessions, the putting sessions, calling Butch at like 6 a.m. says, "Hey, I need you to look at my stroke." It's just never going to happen. It just won't. And so that time there was a very, very tight inner circle that he had with like O'Meara and John Cook and Isleworth. Very, undercover. I mean, his dad was in the military, and there's something about everything that he did at the time kind of followed those protocols. It's just, we're here to work A to B to C, and then over and over and over again. There's a routine that he just went over again, and he didn't talk much to guys. I think, like I said, he had his group, and that was kind of about it. And then through time, he's expanded. And you can see him now is a whole lot different than what he was in 96. And he's a lot more open to guys, and a lot more open to himself and to the world. Like he's doing all these instructional videos and through Golf Digest. And it's a different guy. But also you have kids, you mature through life and experiences. And, you don't want to be, I think he saw his life in a closed door, and probably was like, this isn't much fun. This isn't great for me. I need to kind of put myself out there a little bit and start competing again, and then start going playing. I got to take it step by step, right? I got to go compete with these guys at home, and then I got to see if my game's good enough, and then go start playing more events. And then we kind of saw this really big maturation process for the last 5 years. And once he got healthy, it was like everything clicked, and he can go out and play great.
That's what's interesting is he had the back issues. Before the back issues, I found this old quote, Middlecoff, from Hunter in 2013, you were like, you had a quote where basically you said, everyone's waiting for Tiger to win a major to announce that he's back, but I'm telling you guys, like, he's back. And then he had the back issues, and eventually, several years later, he gets the FedEx Cup, the win at Eastlake. But but you were pretty confident that he was going to get back. It seemed like, at least then.
Well, I think it was 13. He won like 5 times, and he won the Players Championship, right? So he was playing great. His game, you don't need to win a major to say you're back. I mean, that's for guys to win 5 times in their career is a great career, and he did it one. I mean, it was like, oh, it's really good again. It's really, really tight, and he just health issues, right? His back just, you could see his schedule and the way he played. It just wasn't very good. Like, he was literally swinging and practicing to be able to play 4 rounds. Like that, and you could tell, like, he just couldn't do it. And so when he came back, I remember watching him at his tournament, like in the Bahamas. He made a 3-iron swing, and he carried it like 250 in the air. But the swing was so aggressive, and it had so much speed, and he had no fear of it. He had no fear, and I thought, wow, this is a different Tiger. This is a different guy who feels like he has no limitations. Before, there was about 4 years where he had all these limitations of what he actually physically could do, and so he went through, I think 18, 19, where he looked really good, and then unfortunately, the back half, the middle of 19, looks like his back hurt again, and he couldn't play. And then he won the Zozo, and now his back kind of isn't great again. So it's I think it's just going to be the new reality for Tiger Woods. We're going to see a lot of highs, and then we're going to see some lows where just his back just isn't going to let him do it.
Before the injuries, when he was just arguably the greatest player ever for that 5, 6, 8 years, 10-year stretch, whatever. Yeah. We talk so much, and you just alluded to how badass he was and how intimidating he was. But just as a golfer in a vacuum, like, what made him so elite? Like, when you play with him, you're like, Jesus.
I remember Liverpool when he won, and this is when he was with Hank. We were on the range. I played early on Saturday and got done, and he's stepping out. He got out of the car. We went to the range, and there's probably about 5 guys on the range. And he drove up. He stepped out of the car, him and Stevie, and he just walked. And everyone on the range, there's probably about 12 people, but there's about 5 players. And everyone stopped and just kind of looked over. And we all just followed him all the way up to the range. And then Stevie put the bag down. He grabbed the wedge, kind of just, and started hitting balls. And it's like, it's not something I can even describe to you. There was just an air about him that was so, so different. And he just had this ability to block out everything. And just what was in front of him was the golf course and the shot that he was going to hit. And that was the only thing that he worried about. He had an incredible nature to just block everything out. And what was right in front of him was the only thing that mattered. I know someone who talked to him, and they asked him, like, how do you view each day, or how do you move from one day to another? And he said, every day is a new day. I'm going to take what I learned from yesterday, but today's a new day. And so I gotta get everything back together, all my mechanics and everything I need to do. And then today's a brand new day. And I got to respect that. And I got to put everything I have into today. I can't rest on what I did yesterday. So I got to put everything, all my energy into today. And you could just see that. I don't know how you describe it. That's one of those things that's kind of built through time, that he was just different in a lot of ways. And so when you saw that, man, I'm just telling you, it's just that.
Was he dramatically longer than people when you first got on tour?
When he first stepped on the tee and from 96 to 2000, he was, because he wasn't using, he had a steel shaft. He had a very minimal kind of setup. But his swing was just, the speed at which he could create was just so different. And now there's just, it's changed, right? Like, the athletes have changed in golf, but at that time it was very much, he was like the first mutant, right? He was the first guy who didn't really look like a golfer. He looked like an athlete. He just physically looked like an athlete, and he thought of golf differently. No one was working out at the time. Guys were kind of working out to prevent things. He was working out to get bigger, to get stronger, to get more physical, so he can play for the next 30 years and play great. And that's something that he continually works on, to get his body in the right place, so where he can swing and practice all the time.
It's where, like, swing maintenance just has to be exhausting.
Yeah, it is. It's more mentally exhausting. Physically, through time, it kind of wears on you. But feels and reals, like what you feel and what's actual reality of what you're feeling can be two very, very different things. And so it's so challenging to come up with, okay, so I think that my arms or the club's here, but I've got a lot more room. I have to be more inside or outside, whatever. What I feel isn't exactly reality of what I'm doing. So that's always the hard part, and feels change from day to day.
Do you think that's why pitchers are good golfers, because it's so similar to like what they have to deal with every day? Do you have a theory on why baseball pitchers are good golfers?
Well, I think the standing on the mound, like they stand on the mound, right, with their foot, and they sit back. And golf is sort of the same way. It's like when you're wind up, you get into your right side. In golf, you kind of either get in your right or left side if you're right or left-handed, but you get in your right side and you kind of stay there a long time, and you give it a long time, and then, they throw late. So it's kind of like, the club is their hand, and so they know when to time it up. They know when to release it. And so the release in their hand is the release in the club. And so and they have a lot of time off, right? So it's like, well, I can't throw too hard today. I can't throw 100 pitches. I'm going to be sore. So I've got a lot of time. And I think they know how to use their time really wisely, because they probably have to know that, hey, I'm going to work on these pitches. And being hitters, it's so unfair because their mechanics are just so wrong for golf. I mean, they can hit it a mile, but it can go, every which way.
You've won some really big tournaments. I mean, the Waste Management, multiple WGC events. You finished top 10 in every major. Back to pitchers, they say they only have like their A game 30-40% of the time.
Sure,
and the great pitchers are able to win like the other 40-50% of the time when they're pitching like shit. But they just, on your wins, would you say, yeah, I was playing the best I've ever played? Or some of your wins, I kind of grinded through. I made some putts. I made some crazy shots. When you look back and like the peak of your, professional career of winning on the PGA Tour or playing well in majors, are you playing your best golf always?
Great question, because I remember when Tiger won Byron, he said I went up my C game. And at the time I was a kid. I was in high school, and I was like, what the heck is he talking about? He just want to throw with the C game. And being on tour and understanding what competitive golf is and Thursday through Sunday, I kind of understand what that meant. I think there were certain shots that he couldn't hit that week, and he didn't like, he's probably like, my 100 to 50 yard game is just awful this week. And so you adjust, and I've played, I remember in Houston when I won, Houston, that time, of course, has a ton of water. And so there's a lot of trouble easy to make doubles, and it's hard to make doubles up in golf. You just can't do. You have to avoid that. And I remember that week, I don't think I hit in the water once. Yeah. Those stack up quickly. And then you just keep throwing, fire on it. But I just remember I just played so smart. And I don't think I made many bogeys that week. I played the par fives really, really well. But I always felt like the course kind of played to my strengths. I was a great iron player. So I just didn't give shots away that week. And my putting was really solid that week. But I couldn't say that it was my A game. I thought inside 50 yards, I was not very good. But I hit it so well, and I just didn't give shots away. And most guys who win tournaments, they're not giving shots away. They had a lot of fairways, a lot of greens, and they putt. Everyone says, well, they had a great week putting. But it's like, if you don't hit it good, if you can't stand there and hit irons from 200 yards to 150, you can't hit them close to the hole and not give shots away, you're just not going to play well on tour. So I remember that week specifically, WGC at Bridgestone, I played really well. I mean, Sunday I played great, but I played really well that week. I was right there. I felt like I had a good chance to win. I felt like I played great every single day, but just maybe I didn't make a few putts and a turn of 69 and 66, but I played great that week, and felt very proud to win on that golf course.
I think anybody listening to this that's ever picked up a club understands that, like, when the group behind them gets up on their tee box and they're on the tee box, they feel butterflies. Now, I'm sure you get everyday people comparing their golf games to yours, which is not what I'm doing, but I am asking, do pros feel butterflies on the tee box ever? I always watch that and think, like, what happens if you just hit somebody? Everyone's standing right there.
Well, you got to get, if you come to a tournament, that's just a possibility. You might get hit. It's just kind of is what it is. Can't do nothing about it. No one's trying to hit you, but if you get hit, it's just, hopefully you're facing the right direction so the ball goes into the fairway and not the opposite direction. But that's just not my problem. Of course, you have butterflies. I mean, you have goals, you have things you want to accomplish, and there's nothing worse. Kind of, I always felt my best kind of when I knew my golf game and my swing, and I knew if I hit it left, I know why I went left. If I hit it right, I know why I hit it right. So I might have missed shots and not played great, but I knew how to fix it and get back on track. So it never really bothered me. There's nothing like stepping on the tee, though. Like every player is experienced. I'm not really sure where this ball is going to go. It might go left and it might go right. There's nothing worse than that. But all the great players on tour, I think when you're playing your very, very best, you're hitting great shots or you're missing it in one place, in one direction. I know I've played my best is when I just miss it a little right, and then when I make a good swing, it's going dead straight where I'm looking. Left is really never in play for me.
Do you get more nervous when you're in the mix in a tournament and you're like, God, I could win this thing in the weekend, or when you're like, I'm playing like shit and I don't know what the hell to do?
Yeah, it's lost. A different. I remember Jeff Ogilvy he came in town, SMU. The golf team invited him to come talk to the kids, and I went and sat with him. I know Jeff. I love Jeff. Jeff Ogilvy's he's a great guy, really, really good player, but really, really smart, really understands golf and understands like the business of golf. He's a really good golf architect, but he's just a guy you just want to talk to because he knows a lot about golf and all the aspects of it. But he was talking, he's like, whether you're playing bad or great, you're stressed all the time. If you're playing good, you don't want to screw it up. If you have 67, you want to get to 65. So you're stressed about how to make birdies and you don't want to make bogeys. Then all of a sudden you just ruin a good round. And if you're, playing bad, now you're just pissed. And now you're stressed that way. Now you're just kind of angry. And you're like, can't wait to get out of here. Where are we, when's the next flight? You're texting your flight agent. I want to get out of here. So you're stressed all the time, no matter what, whether you're playing good or playing bad. It's just kind of a different feeling. Because you want to win. And once you get up there, you know that it's not like every week you have a great chance to win. And when you feel like everything's clicking, you want to take opportunity.
The caddy relationship or relationships.
Sure.
John and I were watching this video. I thought one of the highlights from last year was we were talking about Eastlake with you earlier before we started recording. Yeah. Paul Casey on 18 on Sunday at Eastlake last year, where he stripes this ball.
I remember. I mean, he loved it. They loved every second of this shot and of that swing.
And then it's like off the back of the green, it's too far. And he turns to his caddy, and they did a great job on TV of explaining to the viewer what was happening.
Yeah.
You can watch them realize, and you watch his caddy, John McLaren, I think of his name.
Yeah.
Realize he gave him the wrong number, now luckily they started laughing. They must have a great relationship, but there was this moment where you're like, is Paul Casey about to force this guy to walk off the course?
There is I will to this day, when I won Houston, I think on 16, they have like 8 tee boxes, and they put the tee up way up that day. And that kind of throws you for a loop because most of the time the tee boxes are right there. And you're going to be about 2-3 yards behind, maybe 4 or 5 yards up, somewhere in that area. And here they moved it like three plots up, and we had no idea that tees were going to be there, and so that throws caddies for a loop. And so we got the number, and I thought I hit a pretty good shot, but it flew about 15-20 yards too far, and so it left me this really awkward up and down. Luckily, I got up and down, but we're in the, I think, second to last group, so we didn't really have time to talk about it. We just kind of had to move on and figure it out. But to this day, I think he got the wrong yards, but he was like, no, it was right. I promise you it was right. And he's a very prideful guy, and so he would never really admit it. But that happens. The player's pulling the club, he's picking the shot out, and caddies are going to make mistakes. There's a lot of numbers out there. It's really easy to kind of add when you're supposed to subtract, and just, things happen. Those caddies are getting a lot of yardages. They're worried about the wind, trying to get, everything just right. So it's pretty easy to kind of screw up. That's going to happen eventually. But like I said, every player is going to handle it kind of differently. Some, I've heard a lot of stories about a lot of guys with some nasty threats out there. Some bad things are going to happen eventually. But I've seen a player in a caddy get into it on the golf course, and he fired him. He just threw the clubs down, and he was like, I'm out of here. I am out of here. And he had a guy he just yells at a marshal, says, can you get my bag? And the marshal carried back for the last like 6 holes. So caddy player relationships are pretty hysterical. They're pretty, it's you really never know what you're going to get. And always a funny thing is when you meet, there's plenty of players who are great guys off the golf course, but then on the golf course, they just, they turn into savages. And all of a sudden those caddy player relationships get a lot more interesting.
Well, it's a little like if you look at it like a football coach and a quarterback or something, because you are kind of dependent on them for yardage. So if you're in a major, how much were you, let's say maybe it's a course that you're not as familiar with, younger in tour, are you depending on them specifically? Like, hey, I think this wind is a little stronger. Hey, this green, you want to land here. I mean, are you just give it to them and ultimately you just hit the shot of what he's telling you to do? And does that change as you get older?
Yeah. So, I mean, especially when you go to majors, it's kind of a new golf course you may have never seen before. And there's a lot of work to do. Those caddies are working their tails off to figure out where all the heads are, where all the numbers are. Are they correct? You can go to places and they're just wrong by 2-3 yards.
You're saying the number on the golf course that tells you.
Yeah. So they'll step there, and they usually kind of work in teams a lot of the time, and they'll shoot, and they'll just kind of use shooters and figure out exactly where it is, and figure out the angles of the green. So sometimes when you get a pin sheet and they walk off the pin, it's from different angles. And so when you talk about these angles and move around, I mean, we're talking 5-6 yards could be the difference, and that's a whole new club, a whole new situation. So there's a lot that goes into the caddy-player relationship and what the caddy has to do. You just have to figure out what you want out of them. I think most players rely on the caddies to kind of get the wind and figure that out. And so, but like I said, it's really challenging because you're going to go to some places and you're going to go kind of below. You're going to be 100 feet below these trees. And the wind's kind of blowing up there and you're kind of looking at that. And the pin might be doing something different. I mean, it's, Augusta at 12, right? I mean, how many times I think it was Hogan talked about, feeling the wind off in his face, and then he would want to hit, feeling that there's just, it circulates around there where it is weird, man. You like guys hit 9 irons, guys hit 7 irons, all in the span of an hour, and they all hit kind of the same distance. It's just situationally at different times, you just don't know what you're going to get. So what a caddy has to do is give a player confidence. Hey, this is the club you should hit. This is the perfect club. Do that. And that's what they have to give you. They have to give you confidence in what you're doing. I mean, I know Tiger and Stevie, Tiger said he was 99% right. There was one time, and it was crazy. His memory, Sean McVay type memory is like, we were at Bell Canadian. He thought I was a little too hyped up, and he gave me an 8 when I needed a 7, and we were kind of plugged in the bunker. But other than that, they were dead on. And so a caddy's got to give you confidence into what you're doing.
You mentioned McVay because you're a big sports fan, which is why we've got you on this podcast, because you're a Colin Cowherd guy and a Gottlieb guy, and so you're a Middlecoff guy, which is awesome. So do you, like Tom, here's Tom, golf at 41, 42, 43, like is an age where we start talking about golfers, can they maintain a certain level? Probably we start talking about it earlier than that, right? Can you believe Tom Brady's playing football at the age he is?
It's just kind of the evolution of the player, isn't it? In these team sports. I mean, LeBron's at 35 and he looks as good as ever. He's clearly lost a step, but is making a huge, huge impact. But at 42, I'd be interested in what John thinks. It seems like every quarterback will tell you, I can still spin it. At 50 years old, I can still spin it. That's not a problem. It seems like most guys, their body kind of just gets beat to hell, or they just kind of get tired of the meetings. They get tired of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I think Tom loves the meetings. I think he loves being around the guys. I think he loves being a leader. And his ball still looks good to me. I mean, it still looks like he can zip it anywhere he needs to. Obviously, he doesn't move well. He just never has, never will. But I think he loves everything about football and everything that goes into it. So as long as he can still spin it, which I think most quarterbacks really can spin it for a really, really long time, I don't know why he'd stop. But then again, it's hilarious. It's just crazy to me how powerful the NFL is. He went to Tampa Bay. He didn't go to LA. He didn't, LeBron had no choice. He wasn't going to go to Houston or Philly or Minnesota. He had no choice. He had to go to the biggest brand he could, and that was the Lakers. Luckily, they had assets. They had youth. We could trade these guys and get Anthony Davis. That's kind of clearly what was going to happen from the very beginning as soon as he got there. But, the NFL was so strong, Tom went to Tampa Bay. And he's like, they got great players. They got a good coach. The defense is probably better than we realize. And he's like, I can get these guys 5 more wins. And he's motivated. And that's a crazy thing to think about. A 42-3-year-old's motivated to play football still.
To me, I think Tiger and Tom are the same guy. Like, they're so famous, they're so rich, they don't have to be doing this. Their legacy is
no.
They do it for the juice. Like what Tiger's done these last couple years. He loves golf more than golf loves him. Like, he likes golf more than what golf brings him. He does it because, like you said, Monday through Sunday, it's about the Peyton Manning, football left him. Yeah. Like, he couldn't throw it anymore. Peyton was just like Tom. They were two peas in a pod. He loves the meetings, loves the practice.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, for Tiger to maintain this level, to come back from the injuries, Tom's avoided that. You know, he's really just had the one major injury. But, like, to love that, because the sport, the grind, football and golf, I would say, are a little similar. Of you spend a lot of time practicing. You know, in baseball and basketball, you just play. Well, in golf, how much do you guys practice? You know, Monday through even the younger. I mean, Tiger kind of set a new tone. You go now after rounds and practice more. Football's the same way. Extra reps, stay on the field. It's like most guys are like, screw this, I want to go home. You know?
Yeah, you want to play. You want to get after it. You want to compete. It's so much about just it's details. I mean, Tiger's a big detail guy, and in mistakes and avoiding mistakes. It's like they're trying to not get it wrong, right? More than trying to get it right. I want to keep doing it over and over and over again, so I can never miss. I know exactly what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. I think practicing is probably looking at film for Tiger. And, you know, I know Tom looks at a ton of film. All these guys look at film over and over and over again. You can't really just practice all the time because your body, I mean, your shoulder, your arm, it's just not going to work. But you can hit balls for a long time, but your body's eventually going to go. But you can always practice short game. And it's just creating games with yourself and understanding that you want the ball to be in a 3-foot circle on every single shot. You know, that 3-foot circle gives you a 99.9% chance of making the next one. So it's just seeing that over and over and over again and understanding each lie is different. Each situation is different. High shots, low shots. I mean, just you could stand from 50 yards and spend 3 hours a day hitting just different shots at different pins in different situations. So that's what those guys, all the great players, love to do, and they just grind at it.
Well, when you were locked in, I mean, at one point in time, you were the number 4 player in the world. Was there a shot that you couldn't hit? Like, was there anything that you couldn't do with a golf club in your hand?
The only thing I've struggled with is hitting like a fade, just kind of hitting something left and it just kind of falls to the right. Just something in my, DNA is just challenging for me. But most of the time, like, to be a great golfer consistently, you got to be a great iron player. Tiger Woods is the greatest iron player of all times. When he pulls out an iron, anything from 100 to 220 yards, he's the best at it. There's just no one close right now. And so that's where he kind of hangs his hat, and that's what Nicklaus, exact same way. Great iron players. They just beat you. He just wore you down for 4 days. I mean, just 3 yards on a cloud of dust. I mean, I'm just going to wear on you all day until Sunday when I feel my best. Like Tiger and Jack were the same. When they get the lead, that's when they relax. That's when they're like, I'm in my comfort zone now.
You got no chance.
And you're out of your comfort zone. I don't have to make up shots. I'm just going to hit fairways and greens. I'm going to make you have to be aggressive and play out of kind of your wheelhouse. And so that's where they just beat you and just grind you all, Thursday through Sunday. And I remember when Tiger won, I think he won Augusta, and it was like 2 weeks later, him and Stevie called each other, and he said, "Are you still exhausted?" I mean, I'm just, the amount of the mental effort you put into it, is what separates you, because the practice is a grind. It's every single shot. It's not just, it's making every shot count and making every rep count, right? Like Brady and, Peyton, right? They're throwing the ball, not for a completion, but in a specific place so the right guy can catch it and turn upfield and go. I mean, it's not just a completion. That's, it's where am I throwing it? When's the situation, and how am I going to do it? And how are we going to do it? And it's really the same in golf.
One thing that's fascinating, I think most people kind of understand how football, they just get on the plane day before a game and go, and then they come back. Basketball, kind of city to city. I don't think a lot of people quite realize, like, if you're playing 3 events in a row, and let's say one's a major, what's a travel like? Hunter is caddy, the operation, this place, the next place, and the next place. How does it work? Like, where do you stay in homes, hotels? What do you eat? How do you practice? Like, you're playing the tee times? Like, it's kind of a crazy life.
It is. I remember when I first started to join, it was every place I went was brand new hotels, new practice facilities, new course. So and then after 10, 15 years on tour, you kind of go to the same places all the time. So there's so much more familiarity with everything that you're doing. And when you're a professional athlete, you kind of want to know what your next step is. And so that first year or two was definitely challenging. I just didn't know where I was going to go eat that night and where I was going to go maybe work out and what time I was going to practice and who I was going to play with. So there's a lot of unknown when you first join the tour. But, being on the road for like 4 weeks is a lot. I mean, it's 4 different airports, 4 hotels. Most majors, you're going to stay in a house. It's just too hard. Sometimes the courses are just too far away from any sort of major cities. So you're going to have to find something near the golf course. And the travel to get into a major from the car can just be a nightmare with so much traffic. Like going to Shinnecock, it's just nightmare, right? It's on an island. Yeah. There's not many roads. And so it's just really challenging, really hard to get to. So caddies are kind of on their own. I would just see you there Tuesday morning. So just be there. But sometimes you guys will travel together. If you're lucky to fly private, that's the easiest way to go. But it is no doubt a grind from week to week. And usually by Sunday, you are just can't wait to get there and get out of that city and go to the next one. Because that's just going to be kind of a breath of fresh air no matter what.
If you're playing, obviously Thursday, this tournament starts. You get there Monday. What's Tuesday and Wednesday like?
Practice rounds on Tuesday. Maybe find a group to go play with. Usually you're just trying to figure out that course. Usually you've played there a lot, so you kind of know the course, you know where to hit it. But, situation, weather changes. The course might play different, might play firm, faster. You're just trying to develop sort of a relationship with the golf course. How far is the ball traveling? Everybody carries track in now, which gives you, it's a measuring device on how far the ball goes and all kind of other numbers. But it helps a ton, when you kind of go from A to B and go to different places, different temperatures, the ball's going to go different distances. Same club, same swing. It's going to go 5 to 6 yards differently. So when you're getting there Tuesday, I think you're trying to develop how far is all my clubs going and how am I going to play the golf course this week? Is it going to be aggressive, soft, whatever? You're just gathering information.
So if you're playing practice rounds with guys, I would imagine different people are different to play practice rounds with, right? Like some people you might be willing to share some information with, or do you not do any of that?
Yeah, I think you do a lot of that. You're talking to caddies, the player, how far did that shot go? Was that a full? Was that not? Especially guys who have won there. If you want to find those guys have that success there, you're always talking to them. Hey, what did you see? What did you feel? How did you play this shot? Or how? Some shots like, did you hit driver here? Are we hitting 3-wood? Are we going to be safe? You're always just trying to gather information from the best players you can and figure out what they're doing.
Meanwhile, Mickelson's just trying to take your money.
Oh yeah, competitive. He's always looking for a game. He loves to compete. He's like Tiger in that, and maybe even more like Jordan that way. Always just competition. How what are we doing? He's always fun to play with. The best guy.
So when we hear about these Tuesday, Wednesday money games, I mean, are we talking 100 hole, 1,000 hole? I mean, what type of numbers are we talking?
Usually it's just a after 18 sort of team. Usually it was team. Now
2-on-2.
2-on-2, or it could be, and he could have other things on the line too, but it's usually just, it's not complicated.
So are you allowed to hit practice shots on top of your main ball? But you're playing one main ball and then you can do other stuff.
Yeah, there is a competition going on, but you are there to figure out the golf course. A golf course gives you a lot of the same shot around the greens and stuff. You might hit the green, it might flow off. So you're going to have a lot of these low to high chips. So you're going to get that a lot. It's pretty rare you get a course that has so many different. Augusta gives you a lot of different looks, but most places kind of have the same kind of flow, and so you're going to kind of get that same shot. So you want to work on that shot, and you kind of can see where pins are going to be. They might not tell you where the pins are going to be, but you have a very general idea of where the pin is going to be, and so you can kind of direct your practice toward certain areas.
Have you played with Tony Romo as a Cowboy fan?
Yeah.
What's that
quite a bit? Yeah, we stayed together this year at Pebble with a friend of ours. Yeah, he's really good. He practices an absolute ton. He's got an indoor hitting area in his home, and he showed me plenty of videos of what he's doing and what he's working on. He's a madman, absolutely loves golf, loves to compete, and loves to tinker. He's pretty convinced he's going to be on tour one day for sure.
Could he have been if he would have dedicated his life like when he was younger to be a pro golfer?
I think so. He's a guy that doesn't look like a great athlete, but he is.
Yeah, big.
He doesn't have a body of an athlete, but he's pretty. But I know plenty of guys who played basketball with him in Dallas. When he was with the Cowboys and playing, and they're like, he dominated Division I players, like dominated. They couldn't score him. He's really quick. Right to left, left to right, just boom, boom, boom. But he's not gonna run a 4.2 40 or anything. But he's really athletic in the short sprints and the short areas, and you can kind of see it in golf. He just has great understanding of where his body is and how to manipulate things and move. And he's a great golfer. I mean, he really is.
You have a favorite course on tour beside, Augusta?
Love playing Augusta. Olympic in San Francisco. There, I really just loved playing that golf course. It felt like a place that I could play every single day and absolutely enjoy it. Just beautiful surroundings. I loved how the course kind of flowed, from the clubhouse all the way down.
Yeah,
I thought that was so neat. Love the trees. I like big trees on a golf course. Love playing at Firestone. I just think there's like no out of bounds. There's like one little pond. It's just a golf course that sets up like, here it is. You're gonna have to hit it really good today. There's just no hiding. You can't hide. You can't hide from this golf course. You're just gonna have to just hit a lot of big time shots. And those are the places that I like to play.
Course you hate?
I have a love-hate relationship with Riviera. Love the golf course, and I've had like one good finish there. But I absolutely love playing there. But my gosh, every time I leave there, I'm just like, I'm just angry. I'm somehow angry in a way that I didn't play better because I enjoy playing it. But it's so challenging. I mean, Tiger can't win there, and he's won everywhere, literally won everywhere. And it's a place that's just, it's hard to describe the challenges of it, but it's just a tough place to play.
The first shot's awesome. Just always on TV when they're hitting.
Oh my gosh.
The first shot's sweet.
It feels like you're hitting out of the clubhouse. It feels like, you turn left, you can buy a shirt and just pull it off the rack and go play. I mean, it's so cool. You
ever eagled that hole?
Not that I can remember. I made a bunch of birdies, but it's
tough.
But it has the greatest 10 at Riviera might be the greatest hole of all time. It's just a nightmare golf course. It's just a nightmare hole. So many angles, trying to figure out if I hit drivers the right play, if I hit irons to left. It's a short par 3. A short par 4 that is just, you stand on the tee and every time you just look at it and like, what's the play? And you look at the caddy and he's like, I don't know. What do you like here? And like, I don't want to get in trouble for picking the wrong club.
John, I want to get Hunter's Cowboys takes before we. Any more golf questions before we get to Cowboys?
Let her rip. Open forum.
All right, 17th pick. Who do you want? What do you want?
There's the Cowboys are so. It's so in depth. I mean, they're so screwed right now, aren't they? I mean, they're going to pay Dak like $35 million. They already paid Zeke a crazy amount of money. They've overpaid Amari. I don't know. I would say your offensive line is going to get old real quick. I mean, you can go almost any defensive player, not a linebacker, because your linebacker core is pretty good. But I know they're projected to pick a safety. But I would, if there's a good offensive lineman kind of hanging around there, I'd probably grab him. I feel like I'd rather have a good offensive line because your offense is worth about $500 million. So you should probably invest in that a little bit. But it's probably safety or offensive lineman.
What's crazy is Jerry is such a great businessman.
He's such a great guy.
He waits but he waits so long to pay his players. If he pays them early, like Zeke, I got no problem paying Zeke $45 million. He's a great player. To me, Amari. The moment they traded for him, they should have just extended Amari at a much lower rate. And probably same with Dak. Dak's a little more complicated because he probably thinks he's a little better than he is. Yeah. But Jerry loves waiting until the last minute and giving all these guys all this money.
My theory is Dak was never going to sign early. They were going to wait and wait and wait. I think Jerry probably did try to sign Dak, and I don't think he was ever going to sign. But the Amari thing, I think is a complete disaster. I mean, he's just never going to ever live up to those numbers.
No.
And
he's a good player. He's a good player.
He's great. He's a good player, but he's not worth that much money. And you're going to lose. It's too much money to be put on skill positions. 2 skill position players, you've invested way too much money.
Who's your favorite Cowboy of all time?
My favorite player, my 2 favorite players are non-quarterbacks are Ed Reed and Deion Sanders.
It's a good group.
Oh.
I'm not a big Cowboy guy now.
You?
What does it say? I'm a genius. I mean, great football players. I mean, I just loved.
He likes DBs.
Yeah.
I do love DBs. I love the idea of like you're on an island and your back's to the play. So you got to be good. You got to be athletic and confident and figure out. And Ed, I just loved Ed because he just was everywhere. And he was there where he needed to be before anyone else knew it. I've watched plenty of those Belichick documentaries on, the NFL Network and stuff. And the conversation between him and Tom talking about Ed Reed and like, is just so fascinating because the amount of respect and they're like, this guy, he's everywhere we don't want him to be. We're going to try to trick him, but he knows we're tricking him. So he comes back. Like, it's just, I think that's such an incredible position in sports, but Peyton and Tom are my 2. I love Peyton because I think he's a guy who has almost no athleticism whatsoever.
None.
No arm. He's a bad arm. Can't run. Doesn't really look that good. I don't know what his real physical. He has no physical traits. He throws a bad ball. Like guy said, it was like trying to catch a box of knives out there. He's top 5 quarterback of all time. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know what you. I mean,
he probably is. Yeah.
I mean,
Tom has a hose. Tom has a huge arm. Peyton had a noodle arm.
It just like you throw it up there and you're like, well, where's that ball going? And then here comes Marvin, like, boop. It's just impressive to me to think that in such a physical gladiator type of sport, a guy like him who just uses his mind and his understanding of where everyone's going to be and manipulates the defense, it's just crazy.
Well, like you talked about Tiger texting Butch at 6 a.m. or midnight. Peyton was the same. And I think Tom became that like in his second half of his career, peppering the OC at all, walks at night and off season and these ideas and just mastering it with their mind,
Yeah. Tiger was just always constantly going like, okay, what are we doing next? How are we going to get that much better? And that's a lot for teachers. That's a lot.
Like a relentless pursuit to never be good enough.
What's the next thing? How are we going to hit this shot better? How are we going to do this? And it's like, it's a lot to ask, but he was in that mode of getting better every single day. And just because his goals were not to win tournaments and win majors. I mean, that Curtis Strange interview with Tiger is one of my most favorite things of all time because he was completely thinking outside the box. He's like, I'm not worried about top 10s. I want to win. And Curtis was like, what are you talking about? You don't even know how to win. You're going to get a top 10. You're going to make some cuts. You're going to feel pretty good about yourself. But it's like, no. I've set the standard for myself so high that I'm willing to work so hard at it to reach those goals. And I want to win more majors than Jack. And he hasn't gotten there. But I guarantee you, he thinks about that every day. And how am I going to do that?
You think he can do it?
I just don't know how many events he has left in him. Like
Corona's not helping him out right now. I mean, shit.
No. His skill level is easily good enough. I'm just worried about how many tournaments he has left. That's the only thing that's really going to stop him. But we've seen it. He's back. His iron play. The funny thing is, the last couple of years, if his putter was a little bit better, he's probably got 2 or 3 more wins.
Yeah, easy.
I mean, it's just his iron game and his driving is fine. It's just, it's just his back goes out and you can see it. And he's like, you can tell he just doesn't have it. But if he has enough healthy starts, he'll definitely do it
in warm temperatures.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's not going to hurt. That's not going to hurt. We can't have Augusta. Augusta, like November, is not going to be great. No. It's not going to be great. It's going to be. I hope. There's a lot of really smart people trying to figure all this, just the golf stuff out. I know that, but it's really hard. It's really, really challenging.
They clearly don't want to cancel it, right?
No, that's the last resort. I mean, that is clearly the last resort. And there's so many. You have the PGA Tour, and you've got all the majors, and they're all different entities trying to work together and try to figure this thing out. And then the new season starts in September.
Yeah,
I mean, it's wild. it's crazy. It's really, really challenging.
Well, that's a
Really
good
hard.
point. We were kind of fired up for the new schedule this year, where it was going to try and hit like before the end of September, right?
Yeah.
And beginning of October.
Yeah, beat football. We're going to try to get done
Yeah.
before football starts, which is smart, which the commissioner's done a great job being aggressive with his schedule. So why compete? It's pointless. It's pointless to compete with football. So let's get it done early and then start the season. And then we can have, the tournaments in the fall, have a good fall series. And they've got a bunch of good tournaments lined up in the fall, but my gosh, it's just, it's tough.
It feels like most golf guys are big football guys. I just thinking about
Probably, yeah.
Especially the younger guys now all went to bigger programs. Freddie Couples, huge Seattle fan.
Yeah.
Tiger's a big Raider guy.
A ton of Alabama guys.
A lot of Alabama guys.
On player Georgia. There's a ton of Georgia players, Alabama players, some good LSU guys. Oklahoma State's been a darn good football program ever since Les Miles came in there. It's a top 20 program, I believe.
And you got a top 5 cool coach too. I mean, the dude wears a mullet.
I mean, shoots rattlesnakes and wears a mullet. What else?
You know him at all?
I don't. I haven't gone up to Stillwater in a while with my kids. My son he's 5, so he's getting old enough to where we can go up there and spend some more time. I really love Stillwater. I just don't get to go there very much. We were gonna do something, with Gundy, but we got canceled. But I would love to be more involved with the program, and hopefully I can be. We can go up there more.
Well, good luck next week. A baby coming.
Well, thanks. I've got a lot. I'll be busy.
What's on tap for the rest of the day? Some chores, some make dinner.
School.
Yeah.
Got to get the kids going to school. Chores. It's a great thing is I've learned so much about my house. I've learned about my pool, how it cleans. I got a power washer that I'm crushing right now. I mean, I'm excited. I'm just going to go down the street power washing things. And it's been fun. It's been weird. It's a weird time, but we're making the most of it. So we're doing good.
Well, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate you hopping on with us.
Well, thank you guys. Stay isolated.
Yeah, stay isolated. We're Zooming. We're not together, even though the sound quality is good. But
it is good. It is good. Technology.
This Zoom thing's no joke. Like you could do a golf lesson. If you just point the Zoom, you tune your swing. It's a game changer.
It's crazy. It's crazy what we can do nowadays. It really is. It is fun. Technology. For golf, for all the sports, man. It's crazy good. It's crazy good.
Hunter, thanks, man.
All right, guys. I will be listening. So thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate that.
Can't wait for the draft.
Hopefully, you didn't waste too much of your time today.
No, not at all. Are you kidding me? I have plenty of time. Time is my friend.
Yeah, draft's here in a couple weeks. It's just wild. Just want this Corona thing to go away, but it doesn't feel like it's going away.
No, they said in Dallas here it's going to peak 2 weeks. Have
you guys been social, whatever, shelter indoors for a while now too? A couple weeks?
Yeah, my wife was, her and her friend from school. They've been talking, and her background is actually pharmaceutical sales, and so she was like, "This